Assalamu alaikum. I am your presenter Muhammad Hussain Aziz, and the topic that I am going to discuss today is about the Muslim rule in Indian subcontinent from Muhammad bin Qasim to Bahadur Shah Zafar. So subscribe my YouTube channel and like and share this video. So let's begin. So first of all, I will tell you how the Muslim rule in Indian subcontinent started. So it all started with Umayyad and Arab rule of Indus, which lasted from 712 to 1026 AD. So let's start. Although Muslims had presence in the Indian coast of Kerala as far as during the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when Muslim visitors there built the Chiraman Jama Mosque in 629 AD. Their presence there even created a vibrant community of Moplas, which literally means son-in-law, which was formed by the matrimonial alliances between the Arabs and local population. But the Muslim rule was not developed yet. The first successful Muslim rule in India was developed when Umayyad general Muhammad bin Qasim defeated the Raja Dahir of Brahman dynasty in the Battle of Aror in 712 AD. According to historian Andre Wink in his book Al-Hind, The Slave Kings and Islamic Conquests, he says that during Hijaz's governorship, it was the maids of Tibal, i.e. pirates who kidnapped Muslim women who were travelling from Sri Lanka to Arabia, providing an occasion for the Arabs to declare the holy war on Sindh and Hind. The reason why Islam gained such a huge momentum in Sindh and large population converted to it was because the majority Buddhist population was dissatisfied with their Brahman rulers. Now I will tell you about the legacy of Arab rule in India. So Indians were treated as dhimmids, i.e. people of the book. According to Al-Baladuri in his book Fatahul Buldan, Muhammad bin Qasim declared that the temples shall be treated by us as if they were the churches of the Christians, the synagogues of the Jews, and the fire temples of the Magians, i.e. Zoroastrians. Quran was translated into Sindhi for the first time in 886 AD during the Arab Habarid dynasty. One of the earliest mosques of India, called Bambor Mosque in Sindh, was built in 727 AD during Arab rule. Similarly, Chiraman Juma Mosque was built in 629 AD and Malik Dinar Mosque was built in 720 AD. Now I will tell you about the next empire that ruled over Indian subcontinent. It was the Ghaznavid Empire that lasted from 977 to 1186 AD. So let's start. The Ghaznavid Empire was founded by Subtagin in 977 AD. He was the slave and son-in-law of Alabtagin, who was the governor of Ghazna in Afghanistan. When his father-in-law Alabtagin died, Subtagin became the new ruler and expanded the kingdom after defeating Jaipala in self-defense of Ghazna to cover the territory as far as the Neelam River in Kashmir and Indus River in what is now Pakistan. Months after the Subtagin's death, his son Mahmud of Ghazni succeeded his brother Ismail as the ruler of the Ghaznavid dynasty after defeating his brother in Battle of Ghazni in 998 AD. He was the first independent ruler of the Ghaznavid Empire and the first Muslim ruler to hold the title of Sultan. In 1001 AD, Mahmud of Ghazni defeated Raja Jaipala at Peshawar in the Battle of Peshawar and later his sons Anand Pala in the Battle of Chach in 1008 AD. He is known for his 17 invasions of India, and his invasions paved way for further Muslim conquests in India. During his reign, Punjab became the part of the Ghaznavid Empire. In 1021 AD, Lahore was annexed and Malik Ayaz was raised to the king of Lahore. Lahore became an important cultural hub of the Ghaznavids. Now I will discuss the legacy of the Ghaznavid rule. In the court of Mahmud Ghaznavi, polymaths like Al-Biruni and poets like Al-Firdausi received patronage. Firdausi wrote the great epic called Shahnama. Al-Biruni spent 10 years and wrote a book describing India called Tahqiq-e-Hind. Great Sufi saints like Ismail Zanjani and Ali Hujweri moved to Punjab. Mahmud Ghaznavi didn't hesitate to employ Hindus in his army. They served under their own commander called Salare Hinduan. Windmills are also said to be invented in Sistan during Ghaznavid rule. Poet Masood Saad Suleiman, who was born in Lahore, introduced Indo-Persian style of poetry. Coins during Ghaznavid period contain Shahada written in Sanskrit. Now I will discuss the next empire that ruled over India. It was the Ghorid Empire that lasted from 879 to 1215 AD. So let's start discussing it. Ghori dynasty overthrew the Ghaznavid Empire in 1186 AD when Sultan Muizzuddin Muhammad Ghori conquered the last Ghaznavid capital of Lahore. He reigned over a territory spanning over parts of modern-day Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Iran, northern India, Pakistan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. Muhammad Ghori is credited with laying the foundation of Muslim rule in India proper. Before that, it was confined to Punjab and Sindh. Muhammad Ghori is said to be invited by King Jay Chand in thirst of power to defeat his rival King Prithviraj Chauhan. He lost the first battle of Dharain fought in 1191 AD, but then won the second battle of Dharain fought in 1192 AD against the Rajput ruler Prithviraj Chauhan. His victory marked the start of Muslim rule in India proper. On his way back to Ghazni, his caravan rested at Damyak near Suhawa, which is near the city of Jhelum in the Punjab province of modern-day Pakistan. He was assassinated on March 15, 1206 AD while offering his evening prayers. So, its legacy include that Gakkar clan of Pothar Plateau converted to Islam during Ghori's reign. The Ghoris were great patrons of Persian culture and literature and laid the basis for a Persianized state in India. Ghorid Misail of Pakistan is named in the honor of Shahabuddin Ghori. Now I will discuss the next sultanate that ruled over India. It was a Delhi sultanate that lasted from 1206 to 1526 AD. So it actually consisted of 5 dynasties that ruled over India. So first one was Mamluk dynasty that lasted from 1206 to 1290 AD, and after this came the Khaljid dynasty which lasted from 1290 to 1320 AD, and after this came the Tughlaq dynasty that lasted from 1320 to 1414 AD, and after this came the Sayyid dynasty which lasted from 1414 to 1451 AD, and at last came the Lodi dynasty which lasted from 1451 to 1526 AD. So let's start discussing them. So first one is Mamluk dynasty, which is also called as slave dynasty, which lasted from 1206 to 1290 AD. Muhammad of Ghori had left the task of administrating his Indian conquest to Qutbuddin Aibak, who was his slave and the governor of Indian provinces. After the death of Muhammad Ghori, he declared himself the Sultan of Hindustan and established Mamluk dynasty. Later, he was succeeded by Iltutmish, who is considered the strongest of all Mamluk sultans. In turn, he was later on succeeded by her daughter Razia Sultan after Ruknuddin Feroz. She was the first Muslim woman to rule over an empire in India. She was killed in the battle in 1240 AD. Ghiyasuddin Balban was the next important sultan. During the Mamluk dynasty, Mongols had started to try to invade India, but Mamluk sultans fought them and defended India. Sultan Balban even lost his son Prince Muhammad, who was the heir apparent to the throne, in fighting Mongols in the Battle of Beas River in 1285 AD. Legacy of Mamluk dynasty include that legendary Sufi poet and singer Amir Khusro was born during its reign. He is called as the father of Qawwali and Urdu literature. Qutb Minar was built, which is considered the tallest minaret built of bricks. After this came the Khaljid dynasty, which lasted from 1290 to 1320 AD. So let's start discussing it. Jalaluddin Khalji established the Khaljid dynasty. He was 70 years old when he ascended the throne. He overthrew the descendants of Balban, being victorious, came to power. He was kind-hearted and mild. Alauddin Khalji ascended the throne after killing his uncle and father-in-law Jalaluddin Khalji. He was the most powerful ruler of the Khaljid dynasty and wished to become another Alexander. His general Malik Kafur played a huge role in expanding his empire. Khaljid dynasty rule is known for conquest into modern-day South India and successfully fending off the repeated Mongolian invasions of India. Legacy of Khaljid dynasty include that during Bakhtiyar Khalji's control of Bengal, Muslim missionaries in India achieved their greatest success in the number of converts to Islam. Alauddin's reign is marked by innovative administrative and revenue reforms and market control regulations. After this came the Tughlaq dynasty, which lasted from 1320 to 1414 AD. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq defeated and killed the last ruler of the Khaljid dynasty and became ruler of Delhi in 1320 AD. He was succeeded by his son Muhammad bin Tughlaq, who ruled from 1325 to 1351 AD and was known for his wild policy swings. Firoz Shah Tughlaq was the powerful ruler after Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He built a new capital in Delhi and named it Firozabad. After the death of Firoz Shah, the dynasty gradually declined. 10 years after his death, Timur's invasion of 1398 devastated Delhi and empire shrunk in size. Some of the important ventures of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's reign were the change of capital from Delhi to Dolatabad, introduction of token currency, invasions on Khorasan and some parts of China. Its legacy includes that Ibn Battuta, a famous Moroccan traveler, visited India during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Tomb of Shah Rukn Alam in Multan. Firoz Shah Tughlaq built Firoz Shah Palace Complex at Hisar in 1354 AD, over 300 villages, and dug 5 major canals. After this came the Sayyid dynasty, which lasted from 1414 to 1451 AD. The Sayyid dynasty was founded by Khizr Khan, who was the governor of Multan and Timur's deputy in India. This dynasty ruled for 37 years, from 1414 to 1451, by 4 rulers: Khizr Khan, Mubarak, Muhammad Shah, and Alam Shah. It is said that famous Sufi Makhdume Jahaniya had once referred to Khizr's father Suleiman as Sayyid, which means a descendant of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This enabled him and his 3 successors to claim that lineage. Its legacy includes Tomb of Mubarak Sayyid. And at last came the Lodi dynasty, which lasted from 1451 to 1526 AD. Bahlul Khan Lodi was an Afghan noble who was a great soldier. When Alam Shah voluntarily abdicated the throne to him, Bahlul seized the throne on 19th April 1451 with the support of his minister Hamid Khan. He was the first Afghan ruler of Delhi. Bahlul Khan extended his kingdom over Gwalior, Jaunpur, and Upper Uttar Pradesh. He appointed his son Barbak Shah as the viceroy of Jaunpur in 1486. Bahlul Khan was confused at who should succeed him among his sons, Barbak Shah, Nizam Shah, and grandson Azm Humayun. Nizam Shah succeeded Bahlul Lodi under the title of Sikandar Lodi. His son Ibrahim Lodi lost his throne to the Mughal Emperor Babur in the first battle of Panipat, which was fought in 1526. Its legacy includes Lodi Gardens in New Delhi, and Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, was born during its reign. Now I will discuss the Great Mughal Empire, which lasted from 1526 to 1857. Mughal Empire was a Turco-Mongol empire founded by Babur and is considered the strongest Muslim empire to rule over India. He was born in Fargana, present-day Uzbekistan, in 1483. He descended from Timur from his father's side and from Chagatai, who was the Genghis Khan's second son from his mother's side. Ousted from his ancestral domains in Central Asia, Babur turned to India to satisfy his appetite for conquest. From his base in Kabul, he was able to secure control of Punjab. He defeated Delhi Sultan Ibrahim Lodi in first battle of Panipat in 1526 and Rajput's Rana Sanga in 1529. At his death in 1530, he controlled all northern India from Indus River to the west to the Bihar to the east, and from Himalayas south to Gwalior. Babur was succeeded by his son Humayun in 1531. He ruled from 1531 to 1540 and again from 1555 to 1556. He lost his kingdom because of Sher Shah Suri, but gained it back with the Persianate. He was fond of astrology. He died from sleeping from the stairs in 1556. Humayun was succeeded by the Mughal Emperor Akbar the Great. He ascended the throne at the age of 13 under the regent Bairam Khan. He adopted the policy of conciliating conquered areas through marriage and diplomacy. During his reign, Mughal Empire included all of the Indian subcontinent north of Godavari River. After he came Jahangir. Jahangir was the 4th Mughal emperor and was the eldest surviving son of Emperor Akbar, who ruled from 1605 until his death in 1627. He was a great lover of paintings. His wife Nur Jahan was very influential, and even coins were minted in her name. He was also known for giving justice to people. His reign was marked by political stability, a strong economy, and impressive cultural achievements. And after him came Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan was the fifth Mughal emperor. He ruled from 1628 to 1658. Born as Prince Khurram, he was the son of the Emperor Jahangir through his Rajput wife Tara Bibi Balkis Makani. His rule was marked by the great architectural achievements. He built the famous Taj Mahal, Jama Masjid of Delhi, Red Fort, Shah Jahan Mosque in Thatta, and several other buildings. Like Akbar, he was eager to expand his empire. In 1658, he fell ill and was confined to Agra by Aurangzeb until his death in 1666. Aurangzeb Alamgir was the sixth Mughal emperor. He wrestled India's crown from his father by defeating his brother Dara Shikoh in 1658. After becoming emperor, he began Deccan and he had an appetite for being militarily strong. His reign lasted from 1658 until his death in 1707 AD for over 49 years. During his reign, GDP of India was the highest in the world. He annexed the Muslim kingdoms of Bijapur and Golconda and brought Mughal Empire to its greatest extent. He was very devout Muslim and used to write Quran and also memorized it. He is considered to be a conservative Muslim, but he had more news in his imperial bureaucracy than his predecessors. According to historian Edred Rush's book on his life, he even granted lands for Hindu temples. Aurangzeb compiled Fatwa-e Alamgiri of Hanafi fiqh. He died in 1707 AD. Now I will discuss the later Mughals and the legacy of Mughal Empire. Mughal emperors that existed from Bahadur Shah the first, that reigned from 1707 to 1712, to Bahadur Shah the second, who reigned from 1837 to 1857, are called as later Mughals. Although they had power and prestige over Delhi and India, but they were not as competent as the first six great Mughal emperors. Nadir Shah, the king of Iran, invaded the Mughal capital of Delhi in 1639 in the Battle of Karnal and took its wealth to Iran, including its mighty peacock throne. Various small kingdoms like Awadh, Bengal, Nizam Shahi of Hyderabad became independent. Marathas were gaining strength, but their invasion was checked by Afghan king Ahmad Shah Durrani when he defeated them in the Third Battle of Panipat. British East India Company had annexed Bengal after the winning Battle of Plassey in 1757 AD, and gradually they became dominant power in subcontinent. In 1857, the locals revolted against the British rule and wished to make Bahadur Shah Zafar as the emperor, but were unsuccessful. Bahadur Shah Zafar was jailed in Yangon, Myanmar, and died there in 1862 AD. So the legacy of the Mughal Empire include that India was united for the first time to such a large extent after Ashoka. Taj Mahal, Red Fort, Shalimar Gardens, and several monuments. Various autobiographies like Babarnama and Tazkar-e-Jahangiri, Biryani, and Mughal cuisine, contribution in clothing, music, and development of Urdu language. So thank you. Hopefully you have enjoyed my video. So like it and share it with your friends, and subscribe my channel and keep visiting my channel. Thank you.